Well, what an exciting moment this is. Our first non-sports related podcast here at Shelby County News Media. And we want to welcome everybody to a special edition podcast as we sit down with both superintendent candidates over a 2-episode span to get to know each of the candidates ahead of the May 19th primary election. And this is a situation where there's no Democratic opposition. So this primary election on Tuesday, May 19th is going to be what determines our next superintendent for Shelby County Schools. So important conversations coming up and big shoes to fill with Dr. Lewis Brooks retiring at the end of this year. And that will be the shoes that this next person is going to have to fill. And I'm Alec Etheridge, publisher and president here at Shelby County News Media, the host of this podcast. And today we are excited to welcome Oak Mountain principal Andrew Gunn to join us here on the podcast and in our first official episode, I guess. So very excited, Andrew, to have you on board with the podcast today, but beautiful studio setup that we've got here as well at Riverlight Studios, the banks of Buck Creek out the window here to our left in Helena, Alabama. So it's just a beautiful setup right here in Shelby County as we get set up for what's going to be a fun conversation. So Andrew, first off, for you, I know there's a lot going on right now. I mean, you got a day job that you're working on, you got a campaign that you're working on. So, just how are things going for you right now through all this in the process?
Alec, it has been an amazing experience. It's a lot of work. There's no denying that. Having a full-time job, running a high school of 1,600 students, over 100 staff members, and all the things that go into running one of the larger high schools that we have here in the county. And at the same time, having my family obligations of family of 6 and 4 children and 3 very young children that are not even in school yet. It's a lot, but I can tell you, traveling around Shelby County, getting to meet some of the most amazing people, getting to meet some of our civic leaders, getting to talk to parents, talking to teachers, meeting students from other parts of all parts of the school district. It has been a remarkable experience, and it has just really, I wouldn't say restored my faith, but really strengthened my faith in the power of our community, of our people, how much our people love where we live. We love our communities. We love our schools, and how much people want our schools to continue to be the standard for the state of Alabama. It has just been really encouraging, amazing experience so far.
Yeah, and you mentioned, balancing everything, the family at home. I've got a almost 16-month-old now, which is crazy to believe, and only one of them.
Yeah.
So I couldn't imagine balancing a superintendent run, my day job, and as many as you're situated with right now.
Yeah.
So I know it's the balance of that is tough, but obviously as we sit down and we talk with you and Joel over these 2 episodes, that's kind of what we want to learn. We want to learn about the person. We want to learn about what they've done, the jobs they've done, and their vision for the future. And I think the impact that we can expect from the next superintendent, but it's just like we've seen with Dr. Brooks. It's you get the personal side, you get the job side. But it is more than just you're there doing a job. You're building those relationships, and I think that's a big part of what we're looking for. But I'm just excited to get to sit down and chat with you for a little bit. I've been fortunate enough to build a relationship with you, build a relationship with Joel as well, and just respect both of you so much in taking the chance to do this. This is obviously no small feat. It's a big position. Dr. Brooks has been in that position for a while now and done a good job. And so that leads to this next step. And it's a big step that I know many are excited to see how it plays out. So for you right now, just looking at the campaign side, what have you noticed as you've gotten into the campaign and really hit the ground running over the last several months? What's been that thing that's stuck out to you? What are the big things that you're noticing from the residents as far as those things that are big topics for them? Just looking at the campaign trail, what's sticking out to you?
I've been able to meet with families and civic leaders from just about every single community that Shelby County serves, that Shelby County Schools serve. And one of the biggest things that sticks out to me is, number one, people love our school system. They're passionate about it. There's a tremendous amount of trust in our school system. And to run a successful school system, you have to have a lot of trust, because every single morning, people are dropping off the most important thing in their world at your front door. The reason why we get up, we go to work, we do what we do, is because we want to raise our children and we want our children to be successful. And the trust it takes to drop a kid off at school every single day, it's just remarkable, the response that I've gotten from people about how much they love our schools, how they want to see our schools continue to grow and adapt as the world is growing and adapting and changing around us. It's been such a refreshing experience meeting people and hearing about that. One of the biggest things that I've found in my conversations with people is there's, with the ever-changing world where we don't know what is real and what is authentic, and what is AI generated, what is real, is this a real person talking to me, is this generated by some other thing? One of the things that people have really spoken to me about is they want to see an authentic, face-to-face human experience for their children. And to be frank, that is something that when I made the decision to get into this campaign, that's something that I was really passionate about myself for my own children. I've had kind of two different experiences. I have a 16-year-old who I've seen grow up in this age, and I have these young children that have not even started school yet. And I think about, what do I want for my kids who will start kindergarten in a couple of years? And I want them to have an authentic face-to-face experience where we emphasize human connection in the classroom, where the basis of everything we do starts with the teacher in front of the kids, the teacher interacting with the kids interacting with each other. And that is a powerful thing. That is what I want for my own kids. And as I've talked to people across this school district, I've found that that's what they want for their children. And I really believe that if elected to this position, that's what we're going to lean into. And that's what I want to lean into as superintendent, making sure it starts with human connection in the classroom.
Yeah, I was actually listening to a podcast on the way over here, and it was one of those where they were talking about, is this AI or not? Mm-hmm. And just funny stuff, but it shows the seriousness of, it's so hard to tell what's real, what's not in this day and age. And when you're talking about students and what they're going through, you know, the school side, but also the personal side and what they're battling, mental health's a big topic. And, that's one thing I think a lot of people think about, whether it's the students themselves, whether it's the parents as well. So when you look at the mental health side of that, I mean, AI plays a factor into that because of what can be done to demean a person through AI, bullying, teasing, whatever it may be, but also the weight that they face as students. When you look at the mental health side of the school system from a student aspect, what are some of the key things we can do there to really, really help our students and not only have confidence in themselves, but also to make sure they're being kind to others and that they're really able to build their self-confidence over the course of their academic careers? Yeah.
I can tell you and this is kind of the old coach in me, and one of my favorite sayings that I've ever heard was, Auburn's legendary head coach, Pat Dye, when he said, you got to love them before you can coach them. And as I've talked to parents and I think about my own experience coming up as a student through public schools, and I think about the experience my own children have had, my oldest child, and what I want for my youngest children, and the experiences that I've had as a teacher and a principal and assistant principal through these past 22 years, I truly believe that we've got to start with loving the kid first. We've got to take care of the kid first. And if we take care of the kid, I truly believe we're going to be able to educate the student. But if we're making sure that the kid's needs are met and our teachers are aware of what to look for when a kid is in distress, a kid is being hurt, a kid is potentially being bullied, if we have a clear understanding of what those signs are and what to look for, and we're making sure we're meeting the kid's needs first, and we're understanding where that kid is coming from, what experience that child's life is like at home, what are their parents working through, what is going on in that child's life, and understanding the child, then we can educate the student without a doubt. And I truly, truly believe in that. It was years ago, I know the Washington Post put out a study, and they surveyed thousands of educated adults, and they said that by and large, curriculum aside, teaching methods aside, the teachers they remembered the most were the ones they knew that cared about them, and cared about them first as a person and a human being and an individual. That's what stuck with them. That's what resonated with them. And in a classroom setting, if a kid knows you care about them and a kid knows you want them to be successful, they're going to do whatever it takes to be a partner with you in the classroom and do that. And that was my own experience as a teacher in the classroom.
Yeah, and I know you talk about the experiences and how they can last too. My wife's a second grade teacher in the school system, and she came home last night and, well, on her way home, called me and said, I got to go get some stuff for tomorrow, because a younger brother of one of her former students told her current student that they would do an activity related to, I can't even remember what it was, but it was something with Lucky Charms. And so the kid mentioned it. And so Sabrina had to jump into action and get after it and try to figure out this plan last minute, because she wasn't planning to do it this year. But it shows that kid all these years later still remembered that activity from second grade. And so it's that kind of impact that is really, that it's fun to see. And it shows the care and the passion, and that's a big part of what you're just talking about. And kind of building off of that.
Well, real quick, a shout out to Sabrina's second grade class. I got to visit at Elvin Hill Elementary a few weeks ago for Read Across America, and that was a lot of fun. Yeah, that's really sweet kids.
That's always a great week, and getting to go in and read to the kids, and they do not want you to leave. They want you to keep going, next book, next book, next book. So it is it's always fun, and going around to the different classrooms and the different reactions there too.
Yeah, and I've been in a lot of forums over the last 3 months where you always get nervous when it's time to open questions up to the public. And probably some of the most interesting questions I were able to get was when I visited the second grade classroom, and they get to ask about anything under the sun.
Oh yeah, so it's all you never know what you're going to get to, and that's always the most fun. It's like, man, maybe I just need to be quiet on this one. But it's a lot of fun, and seeing the kids and the teachers and the interactions and getting to be thrown into that zone for the day, and kind of taking that next step there. We talk about the students and mental health. Teachers too. I mean, that's a big aspect that a lot of people don't think about, because we're so focused on the academic side for the students and their growth. But teacher burnout and the high rate that we're at there, teachers, we don't want them necessarily to be working for retirement. We want them to be working for now. So how do you place an emphasis on teacher retention and the mental health and keeping our teachers happy as well? Exactly.
No, our teachers, I mean, they are the backbone of everything we do. I would like to think I'm a great principal, but I'm only as good as I have the kids and the teachers in the building. And if I've learned anything as 12 years of a principal at both a middle school, 7 years in a middle school setting and 5 years in a high school setting, I've learned that you have to be crystal clear about what your expectations are. When you meet with your staff, you need to tell them exactly what you expect from an academic performance standpoint, what you expect from a parent communication standpoint, and what you expect from a classroom management standpoint. You need to be very clear about your expectations. But outside of that, you turn those people loose and you let them do their jobs. You don't micromanage. You don't come in as overbearing. You allow teachers who are professionals, who this is their career and what they love to do and what they have worked very hard to get to this point in their professional life. you allow them to be professionals and trust them to do their job as they're supposed to do it. And I have found through the years that has been very successful in keeping people and retaining people, because it creates an environment where people know, hey, I'm doing X, Y, Z. This is what is expected of me. And outside of that, I'm going to be allowed to do my job. I'm going to be allowed to be as creative as I can possibly be. I'm going to be allowed to pivot when I need to pivot and go pick up Lucky Charms for a kid so we can do a certain activity that we want to do for a kid. That is the environment that we have to create, an environment of professionalism where you have clear expectations for what your job is and you are allowed to do your job. And I think one of the most important things that I've learned in speaking with teachers and talking with teachers is that we have to value their time, their planning time, their professional development time. We have to make sure that any time, because our best teachers are going to be there all summer. They're going to be there after hours. They're going to be there early on times when they're not on contract and they're not getting paid. The biggest thing that we can do as a school system is make sure the hours that they are actually getting paid for when they're working is that we value that and we allow them to use that to plan. We allow them to use that to meet with their coworkers and plan and prepare for our students. And if that's the kind of environment we can create, I think we will continue to retain and recruit some of the best young educators as they're coming up through the system and as they're looking to education as a career field.
And I don't think a lot of people realize a lot of that extra work that they put in, like you mentioned, whether it's the summer, whether it's a Sunday afternoon to prepare for the week or whatever it may be, staying late, coming in early. I mean, that's most of our teachers are doing that. They are going that extra mile, and so it's something that probably goes unappreciated by a lot of the parents out there. But it's just one of those things where finding that common ground of what's best for the students, what's best for the teachers, and combining that together. So definitely an important topic there. We start with two big ones there that are pretty high topics for just about everybody that's involved in determining the next superintendent. But one of the big things that I want to know really for each of you is why. What made this the time? Why did you want to run for this position as superintendent? So what is it? What is that reason for you that you wanted to take this chance and this risk and run for the superintendent's position?
There's a couple of things. Number one, I love this school system. This school system has been so good to me over the last 14 years. I believe in the mission and the vision of this school system. I believe in this community that we serve, or the several communities, but Shelby County as a whole, the community that we serve. I believe this is a school district where families want to be, where they trust their school system. I want to continue that trust. I believe in everything that we do, and I want us to be able to adapt to the world around us as things change. We don't know what is coming from the federal government. We don't know what's going to happen with the economy. We don't know when we're going to have another, crazy situation like we were in 6 years ago. But we've got to be able to adapt and be nimble and be ready for that, and not lose touch with our core mission and vision of serving the students of this school district. And I'll be frank, on a personal level, with my family, I have 4 children, one who is already a sophomore in high school, and I have 3 that have not even started school yet. So it's deeply personal to me about the success of our school system going forward, because I believe in this school system. My children will go through this school system regardless of what happens in this election. And I believe deeply that what I want for my children as they're coming up, and as I've talked to people across this school district, they very much want some of the same things for their children as they're coming up through the school system. And, I would say the last big reason is I'm a real believer And if something's really hard, that probably means it's worth doing. And if you have been blessed enough to have an opportunity to do something hard, then it's your responsibility to take that on and do that. So.
Yeah, and that's a testament. I mean, just being willing to go out on the limb like that. I know that when we were doing the mayoral forums back in the fall, that was one thing we made sure to say at the end of the forums was that how thankful we were for those that were running, whether they were going to win or not. It takes that leap of faith, that confidence to be able to do something like that. But it shows that you want to take on a position like that. And so that's I commend both of you for stepping out on that limb and being able to take that risk. Because like you said earlier, it's not easy. It's not easy. It takes a lot of work. And you wouldn't do it if you didn't care, have a passion for it. So I know it's been a little bit exhausting, especially with 3 young ones and a high schooler. But kudos to you and for everything that you're doing to attempt to win this election. And you kind of talked about this a second ago when you talk about 6 years ago and what we dealt with there. When you think about that and how we maneuvered through it, nobody knew what to do. Nobody knew what was going on. When we think about Dr. Brooks and his term, his 2 terms serving as the superintendent, how do you take that and help take the next step forward? So you look at the things that he's done well, and building off of that. I mean, you think about some of the things with COVID, the tornadoes that happened, a bunch of different things that have taken place over the last several years. How do you build off of what he's been able to do and go into this next era for the school system? Yeah,
well, it's like you said earlier, those are tremendous, tremendous shoes to fill. I consider Dr. Brooks a dear friend, a mentor, and someone that through my career I've learned so much from these last 8 years and really these last 14 years that I've worked with him. I think the most important thing is, like I said earlier, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. We can't predict the future. We don't know what is coming down the pike that will impact our school system, our community, our world. But we do know what we believe in. And I know what I believe in and what I want for the children of Shelby County Schools. And we can't lose sight of that vision of the future of we want a classroom where human connection is emphasized. We want a classroom where teachers are treated as professionals and allowed to do their jobs as professionals. If those are our guiding light, we can adapt to whatever comes our way. And if we build authentic partnerships with parents and we continue the trust that we have with parents, when bad things happen, when we encounter struggles, when we encounter whatever issues where it may come, whether it's weather related, financially related, world related that has an impact on our little piece of the world here. If we know what we value and we hold dear to those principles and we stay calm and we understand whatever is happening, we can navigate through this and we can fulfill the values that we believe in. That is one of the biggest things I've learned from Dr. Brooks. His calm demeanor, the way he approaches situations, I've never seen him overly down or overly up. He is the guiding light of our school system. And I cannot say enough about the impact that he's had on me, my personal life, my professional life, and how dearly he will be missed. And he will definitely be someone, if I'm successful or even if I'm not successful in this campaign, that I'll continue to call on for advice and consultation.
And we talked earlier about the personal side too, and there's been a couple of times, especially within the last year, I know retirement and other things that it's been an emotional run for him over the last year, and you get to see his true emotion too, which is that personal side, which just really stands out. And I know that's something that, like we said, it makes it feel like more than just I'm here to do a job. You feel like you're part of the community. at that point. So when you look at that and the position to fill, what is it that has you, when you look at your past experience, and you can share details about your career as well, but what has you prepared to step into the role of superintendent?
Well, for the last 12 years, I've served as a building principal with 3 of our different schools here in Shelby County. I was a middle school principal for 7 years, which I have to say was the most amazing, rewarding experience that I could have ever had professionally, being a middle school principal. Many years ago, when Mr. Fuller asked me to go take over at Chelsea Middle School, I'd only ever done my student teaching in a middle school setting, and that was my experience with middle school. I'd been a high school teacher, a high school assistant principal, but man, the energy of middle school kids and the way they approach school and the power of middle school teachers, some of the best and most dynamic instruction I have ever seen.
I was about to say, I would be frightened to go into a middle school, even just as myself, but especially as an educator.
They're not bad. They're actually really, really sweet, and it's almost they're in that such weird, transitional age of they have so much energy, and they are changing so fast, and their bodies and their personalities are changing so fast. It's hard to keep up with, but it's a really, really cool thing, the energy that they bring to a school. And I go back to why some of the best instruction I've ever seen is with middle school teachers, because that energy is there. And you're either going to captivate it and bring them to you, or they're going to take it in a different direction, which is really cool. But to my point, serving the last 12 years as a principal, both middle school and high school, I have been on the front lines with our parents, with our teachers, with our kids. I've watched the world evolve around us, and I've watched things change over the last 12 years. I've directly dealt with supervising staffs of over 140, 150 people, hundreds and hundreds of teachers through the years, thousands and thousands of students through the years. And I believe it puts me in a unique position, not just based on my professional experience, but my personal life and how I am experiencing the school system now as a parent. And that will be a big part of my decision-making as superintendent, is I know what it's like as a parent when you've got little ones at home and you're trying to get them up and you're trying to get them going, and whose shoes match and whose don't, and can we get out the door? Can we make it on time? Can we do all the things? Have we turned in this for this school? Have we turned in that for that school? So a lot of my decision making as superintendent will be through the lens of a parent. Is this a realistic expectation for our parents? Is this something I realistically believe we can ask of our parents to do from their perspective? But I'm excited, really excited about the opportunity.
Well, just when you look at that and taking advantage of the opportunity in that first year of time, what would be one of your big goals? What would be one thing that through that first year, and it may be a couple of things, but what really stands out as one of those first things you want to tackle as you look to help the school system move forward?
Mm-hmm. In the first year, I want us to establish from the superintendent's office down very clear expectations for our central office partners, our building principals, our assistant principals, our teachers, our paraprofessionals, our custodians, our CMP workers. Like I spoke about with teacher retention earlier, I want people to have a clear understanding of what is expected of them. I want people to understand, as long as I'm in line with what is expected of me, I will be trusted to do my job. Because I was hired to do this job, I'm a professional, and I'm meeting my expectations, and I'm going to be allowed to operate as a professional within my building, whatever role people have. And I want to establish those crystal clear expectations for people, because in my experience, I've seen that does the most for culture than you could ever you could ever do otherwise if people know what's expected of them and they're allowed to do their jobs. I've found that works very well, and that's what we would spend the first year making sure is implemented and put into place.
What do you feel is like an obstacle or something that you faced throughout your career that you've had to overcome or help others overcome, and how have you gone about that? So basically, when you look at that, the decisions that you made, if it was a personal obstacle, professional obstacle, how have you gone about making the decisions to get through that?
I think really, Alec, a big part of what you're asking is, at the end of the day, especially as a building principal, you are accountable for everything that happens in that building. And it may not be your fault. You may not even be aware of it when difficult things happen. If something difficult happens with a student, something difficult happens with an employee, something difficult is affecting your student body as a whole. At the end of the day, you may not have created that problem, but if you're the principal and if your name's on the front of the building, you are accountable for what is happening in that building. And that is something over 12 years as a principal is a mindset that I definitely take to my leadership roles, whatever they may be, maybe I didn't create the problem, but it's my responsibility to fix it and do everything I can to make sure that it doesn't happen again. And that's the mentality that I want to take to the superintendent's office, is with 20,000 students, over 4,000 employees. There's a lot of things that may go wrong or may not go perfect all the time, but at the end of the day, the person at the top is accountable for what happens. And that's the mindset that I'm going to take into the superintendent's office.
Yeah, and I imagine there's something just about daily too. Just managing a staff of just over 20 employees, there's something just about every day. So I could only imagine with the teenagers and the staff on a daily basis for you. So I know that it's never ending there. And you also get the positives of that too. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, one of the biggest things that I've found is, if we make a mistake as a school, or if we make a mistake as a school system, we can't be afraid to pick up the phone and say we're sorry. There have been many times where I've encountered difficult situations as a school leader, as a principal, and I've just simply had to pick up the phone and say, ma'am, we made a mistake, and we're going to do everything we can to fix it. And as the principal of this school and the leader of this building, I'm ultimately accountable for that. And we're going to do what we can to fix this. And I think showing that we're human beings and we're not perfect and we make mistakes, but we're going to work to fix that, that goes back to really fostering and building that trust with our parents and our community. If we own our mistakes, generally people I've found will show grace in those circumstances.
Yeah, that's one thing I try to talk to my staff about, is there's always going to be those people who are negative, and they want to reach out with that negative feedback, which makes the positive feel even more, you appreciate it even more. But at the same time, I always tell them, when you get that feedback, sit there and think about it for a second. Are they right? And if they're right, then we need to take the steps to learn from it, be better in the future, and we need to reach out to them, apologize, and thank them for pointing that out. And if they're wrong, then we just need to go about it, our business, and move on. But you do have to reflect on that and try to, get to the root of it and see, is it something that, we don't want to immediately jump to, they're being negative, they're an awful person. They may be right in their assessment. And so we do have to take a second to look at that and reflect on it as well.
Yeah. Well, and I'll add to that, Alec, especially in a school setting, because we're dealing, like I said before, with the most important thing in people's lives. And sometimes a completely rational, professional, normal person, when it comes to their child, as all of us would, different emotions come out. And as school leaders, we have to listen and we have to understand that this is the most important thing in this person's world. And I think sometimes we have to show a lot of grace and understand that, this person is working hard. They're doing everything they can to buy groceries, pay a mortgage, take care of their kids, send their kid to a good school. And this might be a person's breaking point. This might be where they lose it, because this is the most important thing to them. And so we have to listen, we have to understand, and we truly, truly have to show grace in those circumstances.
Yeah, and you talk about it right there. I mean, that's everybody is going through something different, and you just don't know what they're going through, including, ourselves. When you look at that internally as well, when they reach out, they may not know what we're going through, and so we may not react appropriately at times. And we're all human beings. I think that's the aspect that gets lost a lot of the times when we talk about sports, when we talk about schools. It's really easy to get lost in that fact that we're all humans and we all have a personal side. We all have emotions, and we're all ticking the same way technically, and so. That's one thing that I just personally hope that we see in general in life is people keeping that in mind for this election and for everything else as well. When we talk about the academic side, obviously that's one of the big points of school is academic success.
It's the main point. It's the main point.
So when you look at that, when you look at the academic achievement, what are the big things that we can do there? What are the big things that you'll focus on to help us have that academic success, to help our students reach that pinnacle, reach the milestones that they need to from an academic standpoint?
A lot of it goes back to my primary point about taking care of the kid first and the student second. Overall, as superintendent, you have the ability to set the expectations and set in many ways, set the culture of what our expectations are going to look like. We have to take care of the kid first. We have to value the trust that we have with our parents. We have to understand if a kid knows that you care about them and you want them to be successful, they're going to work much harder for you as a student. Now, my vision for that is an emphasis on human connection in a classroom, human beings interacting, learning with other humans, students working with students, teachers working with students needs to be our starting point and our emphasis for everything we do. Now, that looks very different in a kindergarten class versus a BC calculus class, but the core mission and the core value there is ultimately the same. I had the amazing opportunity to spend almost an entire day with the kindergarten class a few weeks ago, and it's just one day was such an unreal, amazing experience to see the power of one teacher and what that one person can do to make those kids feel comfortable, loved, cared about, and respected. And the way that she is setting them up for success is truly remarkable. Currently in our elementary and middle school, we're held accountable by the ACAP, which is, and we have done a very good job across our school district in our performance on that, and that ultimately reflects our state report card. We will continue to adapt and adjust to that test as it adapts and adjusts as the state changes things along the way. High schools are ultimately judged by a series of factors, but predominantly the ACT in the 11th grade, which is a great thing that all of our students take it. They have an opportunity. Some may take it the only time they ever take it and see that they are actually ready for college or ready for something after high school, which is a really positive thing. But we have to make sure that our kids have the necessary tools to be as successful as they possibly can in that in that realm and in that aspect. So.
Yeah, it's kind of a follow-up there. One, first off, the only thing that frightens me more than middle school is kindergarten. So more power to the kindergarten teachers and what they're doing.
They're awesome.
Yeah, it is. That's an incredible job to be able to not only teach them, but impact them at such a young age. And it comes with its challenges, but you see them grow so much from that kindergarten to first grade time frame too. But the other thing I wanted to ask there that you kind of brought up was the state side. And we talk about professional development and the different curriculum that we implement. It feels like there's consistently new things being added or changed, and as soon as we get down pat one thing, then it's here comes a change to that, or here comes the next thing. That kind of goes back to the teacher side. How do you balance that relationship with the state and what we're implementing within the school system to keep in mind that, that training time that goes into and learning some of these different things that they have to learn?
As different things come down from the state of Alabama, or maybe even the federal government through the state, we have to be adaptable and able to adjust to whatever that is. But we still can't lose our core values of what we believe in and what we feel here in Shelby County is best for kids. Now, we will unequivocally follow the directives that are given to us by the state of Alabama, and we will adapt and change as different things come to us. Who knows what they may be in the future, but we have to maintain our focus on our core values, and that's number one. We got to take care of the kid first, and number two, we've got to value that human connection in the classroom. And if we believe in those things, along with real partnerships with parents and keeping that trust with them, we will be able to adapt and adjust to whatever comes our way. In terms of how that impacts our teachers, I think it goes back to if we create a culture of your time is valued, you will be treated as a professional. We're going to give you clear expectations of what we expect from you as a professional and as a teacher. And, we're going to have to adapt and adjust. And those expectations may adjust based on the standards and the regulations we're given. But we're going to value your time. We're going to make those adjustments, and we're going to continue to treat you as a professional. So,
and you talk about doing it across multiple schools too. So that kind of takes me to my last big question here, which is the number of schools that you have to consider in this position, and the school board as well.
34 schools.
Yeah. How do you maximize the resources that you have to spread them around to all of those schools? Obviously, you talk about Oak Mountain and the size that you've got there and sheer numbers. We've got some of the fastest growing communities in the state. When you look at places like Chelsea and Calera, and Montevallo is going to be on their heels soon. So how do you maximize the resources and look at that with each of the 34 schools that you are responsible for?
Of course. I think you have to understand that each and every one of our communities, there's no denying each and every one of our communities are very unique. They all have a unique set of needs and a unique set of circumstances, no matter what part of our school district you're in. And you have to be able to balance the very finite amount of resources that we have and determine how are we going to address the unique needs of each community. Some communities may have larger special education populations than others. Some communities may have larger ESL populations than others that need more dedicated resources. It is definitely a balancing act, and it is something that it goes back to the trust factor, that you have to be very clear with your communities. You have to be very clear with your teachers. You have to be very clear with your parents about what your expectations are, what your mission is, what your vision is for the future. And if you can build and earn that trust, I do believe it makes that much easier to balance those very finite resources that we have throughout the different parts of our school district and throughout the different parts of the families we serve. But I have been to just about every single community in Shelby County over the last several months. I've been, throughout my career, I've had opportunities to visit every single middle school and every single high school in our school district. And I can tell you without a doubt, we have some of the most amazing dedicated people, some of the most amazing dedicated professionals who love our kids, who are dedicated to supporting them, who are dedicated to their communities that they serve. And it's just a remarkable thing.
Yeah, I think that's the best part. I mean, it's one of the best school systems in the state, regardless of city versus county. But county school system wise, I don't think there's anybody better.
Yeah. Well, I'm biased. I think it's the absolute best.
Yep.
And I think it's the best in the country.
I've got a wife who works there. I'll have a daughter who will be there soon, and obviously work to cover them for a living too. And so I think very highly of the school system, the people involved. And it's like we said earlier, it's no small feat. It's a lot of people coming together to make it what it is on a daily basis, every single day throughout the year, which is really special. So that I mean, wow, great conversation. That was awesome. I know. You look at everything that we talked about today, all kind of going into the success of our school system. But want to get anything else that you want to get out there? Any closing thoughts that you may have as far as some of the things that we went over today, or anything we didn't go over? What are some of the final things you'd like to share?
Yeah, well, for sure. This has been an amazing process over these last several months, and I'm looking forward to these next several weeks as we get out and get to meet people all over the school district. I truly, truly believe in this school system. I truly, truly believe in Shelby County. This is where I live. This is the place that I will live as long as God gives me the opportunity to keep going. This is where my kids are going to go to school. I truly have been humbled by the response that I've gotten from so many people all over this district. And I just look forward to the opportunity to serve this school district as superintendent.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Andrew. I appreciate you being willing to take time out of your busy schedule, both at home and obviously work-wise.
We got this. We got this. Look.
So I know it's been a fun ride. I know it's a lot of work, but enjoy the rest of it.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're about a month away now. Not sure exactly when this episode will drop, but May 19th. So we want to make sure.
May the 19th.
Yep.
It's
Tuesday.
the big day. Tuesday, May the 19th. It's also at my school. It's graduation day, so that will be a very big day.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot going on that week, and working on graduation magazines now. So I'll be reaching out to you soon about that, probably this afternoon. But it's just hard to believe that we're at that time where everything over the next few weeks is just gonna fly by, and we're going to know the superintendent situation. We're going to be at the end of a school year, which is just absolutely crazy. But I want to remind y'all, just get out there Tuesday, May 19th. This, like we said, this is it. The primary, there is no Democratic opposition. So this is going to be what determines our next superintendent. We just talked about it. He's invested. I'm obviously invested with a wife, with a future daughter going into the school system. So it's one of those things where if you're watching this, you're probably invested as well. Very unlikely that you wouldn't be. So make sure you get out there Tuesday, May 19th. Get out there and vote. That's going to determine the next superintendent of Shelby County Schools. And like we just said, one of the best school systems in the state of Alabama. So thanks. Yeah, that's right. The best. Thank you all for tuning in. We appreciate you being a part of this, and we'll see you at the polls on May 19th.